I'm going to show you how to make this crazy map of hurricanes since 1851. It shows them in a sort of circuitous fashion, which is atypical. It's probably my most popular map ever, but I've never really given a detailed how-to. Until now. I've heard people say it reminds them of an eye, which I can see, but to me it just looks like one big hurricane made up of constituent hurricanes, which is sort of lovely in a way. It's also one of the earliest uses of firefly cartography. Firefly cartography, meaning it's got a dark desaturated base map and the thematic layer glows. But I think my favorite part of this map is that it has bound up within it all sorts of tips and tricks that you can use while making your own maps, whatever the phenomenon. Now I've provided some resources for you in the form of an ArcGIS Pro geodatabase with all of this historical hurricane data sourced from NOAA, and a map image as an example, and also an ArcGIS Pro style with all of these firefly points and fills and everything that you'll need to make this map. I'll download it and open up this zip folder, and I'll just extract it to my project folder. This is the data, this is the style file, and this is the map reference. So first of all, in ArcGIS Pro, I'm going to open the catalog view, and in the styles category, I'm going to right click and choose add style. And I'll navigate to my project materials where I will find this hurricanes map style. I'll hit OK. Let's see what we've got. Well, we've got our hurricane points. We've also got this intriguing vignette symbol, countries, the colors for our categories of hurricane, and this color gradient here. Back in the map, let's add the data. Right click, add data, hurricanes geodatabase. There's only one thing inside it, and it's a point file of hurricanes. And they look like this. Very interesting. Let's get a base map in here. I'm going to right click and choose add data, and Living Atlas tab will be my selection. I'm going to go to the Living Atlas and I'll search for Firefly. World Imagery Firefly is the base map that I'm after, and it looks like this. A darker desaturated version of world imagery. Look at these crazy piles of hurricanes. Okay, now we're looking at a default projection, which happens to be equirectangular, WGS84, but we need to choose a more interesting projection. So I've double clicked the map, I'll go to the coordinate systems tab, and I'm going to search for polar, and in the projected coordinate systems, polar, South Pole stereographic, which looks like this. Very interesting. So we're seeing, let's see what we can do with these points. I'll open the symbology panel and I'll choose, instead of single symbol, unique values, and I'll point that to the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. Hurricane categories 1 through 5. And for each one of these, I'll just dig into it and use the symbols that I have saved in the style, this hurricanes map style that I've provided. So category 1. And over here I'll just choose category 2, point to 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and you guessed it, 5. Let's take a closer look. But do you notice how the smaller storms can often render on top of the bigger storms and completely obliterate them? It's important to show rendering order as the strongest rendering on top. How can we control this kind of thing? Can I like click and drag here? No, but you can in the symbology panel choose the symbol layer drawing option. Activate it. Category 1 draws on bottom, followed by 2, then 3, and then 4 draws, and lastly 5 draws on top. Now we have layer ordering by intensity, so that the big ones never get covered up. Okay, let's put this map into a layout and we can start building an arrangement. I'll insert a new layout, custom page size, and I'll choose points as my unit and make it a pretty big layout, 2400 points by 1600 points. Okay. And I'll insert this map frame. I'll go right to the edge, all the way to the edge, snapping to the edge. There it is. I'm going to get rid of this. If I unselect it, I've got a black border here. I always get rid of that black border. The first thing I do, right click the map frame, properties, and in this little paintbrush display tab, I'll choose 0 points. Okay. Okay, here we have our map inside a layout. I'm going to right click this and I'll choose activate, and I'll right click my mouse and drag to do like a fine zoom. I'll zoom in something like this. I want to rotate this map so that this line kind of fits horizontally better within the real estate that I have in my layout. And I'll do that by rotating the map. So I'll exit out of this navigation mode, and I'm going to double click this map row underneath my map frame. Double click to open the properties. And in the general tab, I'm going to choose -140 degrees. And now the composition is a much better fit. And I'll activate this again and just zoom in and fine tune it. Now also, let's get rid of this blinding white set of corners that we've got here. So I'm going to double click this map frame to open the properties of the map frame, which holds the map. And this little display guy where I deleted the outline, I'm going to give it a black background, a full black background. And immediately it's so much better. All right, now let's add some context in the form of country borders. I'm going to add data, living atlas once more. I'll choose countries, and I'll choose world countries generalized. It's plenty detailed for me. And by default, we have this fleshy pile of countries. I'll open the symbology panel, and in the style that I provided, Hurricanes map style, there's an option called countries. I'll choose this. It's just a very thin auburn stroke with a thicker black stroke behind it. I'll close this, and now this layer, you can push this back and make it like 60% transparent. So it's just faintly there. Now I'm going to add another layer because I just can't stand this abrupt edge of the world. I want to fade out and create a nice vignette where it focuses the eye on the phenomenon and away from this distraction of a hard edge between the world and not the world. So I'll once more choose add data, living atlas, and I'll add global background. My favorite layer of all time. It's just a big rectangle that covers the whole world. Here we go. I'll open the symbology panel for this and see this vignette style that I've added to this. This is a polygon symbol called vignette. It's black at the edges, opaque, to transparent black near the center. If I choose it, oh my goodness, look what we've done. It's immediately so much better. Before, after. Now, one bulletproof way to make any map immediately cooler is to add a graticule. So I'm going to choose this map frame and I'll insert grid. And I'll just pick any of these. Okay, now we have a grid drawn atop our map. Come here, I'll open the properties. I don't want any of these labels, so I'll smite them. I don't need outside ticks. Bing, boom. I only want the grid lines, and I want them to be semi-transparent white. So I'll choose white. I'll open the properties and I'll make it 60% transparent white. Apply. Close. And you get this cool, science-y, sci-fi look. Man, this is just a cool trick to make any layout snazzy. But frankly, all I can see is this monstrosity. So this is a base map service, a tiled base map service in Web Mercator projection, which means it can't go all the way to the very end of the South Pole. There's a gap in coverage here. And so I have this big black circle. What do I do? What do I do? Well, what I'm going to do is do something similar to what I did for the vignette, where I faded off the edge of the map. I'm just going to have a faded black circle here, and I'll show you what I mean. It's not going to be a geographic feature, just a layout thing that I'll draw. I'll insert a circle. And I'll start here, and I'll draw it all the way out to, say, here. And then I'll open the properties and the symbol. And Pro just treats this like any other polygon, no problem. Open the layers. I don't need that outline, but I do want this fill to be a gradient fill. The pattern will be circular, and instead of discrete, it'll be continuous. And in the middle, it'll be fully black, and on the outside, it'll be black, but transparent black. 100% transparent black. Okay. Apply. And now we have something just kind of pushing this guy back down a little bit. If it's a little bit too abrupt, just shrink it down a little bit. There. No longer do we have a big weird seam. It looks a little weird now because you know what you're looking at, but if I hadn't shown you the creation of this, you wouldn't ever think about it. Okay, who's ready to slap a gigantic chart on here? I am. If you have a phenomenon that's mapped geographically, it can be very interesting to also show it in a different visual dimension. There's all kinds of insights that could happen when you see both of those and start making comparisons. So let's do just that. I'll right-click hurricanes and I'll create a chart, and I want to do a bar chart. I think it would be interesting to show the years here, tick, 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 as bars. Year. Alrighty, it's already kind of interesting. Immediately, questions start forming. Count, we can leave that as is. Now I want to split these bars up by their hurricane scale, the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. And that is great. Let's see what is in the series. I want 5 to be on top, just like we did in our map. So I'll just quickly reorder these. Okay, biggest on top. And we'll go to the axes. That's good. Guides, don't need that. Format. Let's see this stuff. So all of these things, let's just choose all text and make it 99% transparent. I found that if I made them 100% transparent, they don't actually disappear. For the symbol elements, this background, I'm going to make it fully transparent. This one does work if you do 100% transparency. So now it's going to have no background when I put it on the map. And all lines, yowza, let's make this, I forget, 99% transparent. Let me just minimize this a little bit. Looking pretty good. Let's take a look at our layout. How do we get this here? With the layout tab selected, it can be confusing. There's a lot of moving parts here. With the layout tab selected, go to insert, and then choose a chart frame. And we only have one chart to pick from. And we'll stick it right. Yeah, there we go. It looks like this. We can make it taller. Now, I've lost my years because I made it 99% transparent. And I want to bring those back. It's this one. It is. Okay. Which means I'm going to give this a Century Gothic font. I'll make it small, make it even smaller. And I'm going to cut its transparency, or its opacity, in half. Let's make it 50% transparent. Okay. I'm loving it. We have just made a chart and added it to our layout. I can close this. Let's give this a bit of a home in our layout by drawing a rectangle behind this to darken it, a little lower vignette rectangle area to help it pop up off the map itself a little bit. So I'm going to insert, and in this graphics and text zone, I'm going to choose a rectangle. And I'll just draw a big rectangle, much the same extent as my chart, which looks like this. I'll drag it underneath my chart, and I'll open the properties and the symbol. I don't need an outline, but I do want a gradient fill. This time I'll choose a linear fill, continuous, and this will go from black to black, and the top one will be 100% transparent. There. Now we've kind of given this a little home and reduced some of the visual complexity. Now I want the years to show up, but I don't want this count of hurricane dots to show up. And unfortunately, there's no individual control to say this one, but not this one yet. So what I'm going to do is fire up my hack muscles and insert another rectangle and just cover this up. And I'll make it solid black. Can you believe that just happened? There. Sorted. Now it's gone. Now there are some kind of strange patterns here in this chart because it's very low rates of hurricanes until the 1940s, and then it just skyrockets. Is that because hurricanes just started happening more in the 40s? No, it's because we started observing them. So I did some research, and I will drop in little bits of annotation text along interesting parts of this historical chart. And I've actually made a style for this label. You can't see it because the text is white and the background of this interface is white for some reason. But I'll choose this, and now I can see this little bit of annotation here, and I'll do the others as well. And then lastly, I'll add in a title and a subtitle. And there we have it. A map of hurricanes since 1851 shown in a South Pole stereographic perspective, indicating the swirling, circuitous, spiraling nature of hurricanes and a temporal representation of our accounting of them. Give it a shot, have fun. Please show me your results. Try out different colors. If you want to, different base maps, make this your own. Thanks for watching.